All right. Thank you very much for your time, Suzanne. We have Suzanne Banas from here, from Miami, and my name is Hansel Hong from RoboLink. So, Suzanne, if you can do a quick introduction for yourself, that'd be helpful.
Hi, I'm Dr. Suzanne Banas. I teach at South Miami Middle School in Miami, Florida. I teach middle school science.
Awesome, awesome. All right, cool. Yeah, so I know you've been a big fan of the product that we make, CoDrone, and then before we jump onto the conversation for that, so what do you do at your school, and then how did you get into STEM education?
Well, I teach honors physical science, and um, it gets pretty boring, teaching some of the typical stuff. And I'm a real um, uh, proponent speaker for real life skills. And through summer workshops, I learned that coding was the route that we should be taking. And that was like in 2015. And I looked at some simple coding type things, um, and the kids went through it too fast. It's just like, oh, this is too simple. You couldn't do anything with it. And then I found the Spark Fun Redbot robot that the kids could code, and we coded a drone dance party. So the kids learned to code what I call now ground robots
Hmm.
into dance, and they set it to music. And the kids really enjoyed it. But once you do it once, it took us about 10 weeks. I have engineering Fridays. So every Friday we do engineering. And it's like, okay, what's the next step? And I had an after school program on aeronautics. And so I said, listening to people, oh, look we have drones. And again, we flew drones, and it was like, okay, what do we do after we fly drones? Again, it was not something. And so someone said, let's code drones. And I wanted to take from my ground robots to do a drone ballet. So I started investigating where we have coding drones. Um, for simple ease, I use the Tello drones. But again, they only use Scratch, and you can't do a whole lot of things. But for a start and kids who are uncomfortable, that was a good thing. But I had kids that really wanted to go beyond, and so started investigating and found your CoDrones. And the kids love the lights, and they love all the things that it can do. Um, and one of the things that I had to look at, how durable are they? I mean, I looked at some of the other coding drones out there, and they're not as durable because kids are clumsy with their coding and their flights and where they have to be. And I found the CoDrones. I mean, I've now had them 3 years, and I'm still, other than changing blades, they come apart. We put them back together. And kids really who take the advance, like coding, like I said, the lights. God, they'll spend so much hours with code, with lights, so it does things, and they really enjoy it. But what was the nice thing for me, and what I showed other teachers, is your online tutorial. So where I learned coding, it was easy to help the kids. But what do you do with someone who's uncomfortable, doesn't know coding? And your workbench, your online, I can stick a kid to it, say, go at your own pace, do this. And they just blossomed with it. So now it's not, okay, everyone, we're doing this together. The kids who could go ahead, the kids who needed more help. And so your online allowed kids to be able to pace themselves. Because like, I hated sitting in class and going, okay, I have to wait for the slow person. Oh, now I have to wait for the slow person. So one of the things besides the ease of the drones was that you all had this online tutorial, the base camp. And it's really nice because I can set kids to it and they can work at their own speed. I hated workshops where I could work faster and I had to wait for someone, where with your base camp, I could set each one up and they could go at their own speed. So the ones who didn't need help could go, and the ones who need help I could work with, but it's not a whole class instruction. I'm really just a facilitator, but it made it so much more fun than trying to teach a whole class to code and having to wait for, wait, or if I screwed up, they had to start over, but they could do that. So to me, that's what I tell teachers are one of the best things about RoboLink is the base camp, is that you don't have to know coding yourself. It helps, but you can set the kids up with it. And now with this virtually, the kids can do their base camp on their own and learn as that they wish. So that's why I prefer the CoDrones.
Awesome. And can you share some of the favorite outcome that your students did with our CoDrones? Like, what are the outcomes?
Well, we did a drone dance, and actually, some of them did it with the TeleDrones, and it was really cool. But when we were on stage at the Adrian Arch Center, a professional center, and when the kids started with the CoDrones and the lights, so now the drones are dancing, and now the lights, and it's like the parents, the media, everyone just picked up, was like, this was so much more wow than just seeing a drone. And it's hard to see a drone when you're, you have to step out of to make sure it's safe. So with your CoDrones, you can see the lights, and so everyone can follow the drone.
Mm-hmm.
So it made the dance, and they could appreciate it a lot more because now they could see the drone because they could see the lights.
Yeah, and I remember seeing the videos from Miami Herald that covered the students' performance, and I think my favorite part was that students were actually dancing together with those drones. And
right. They chose to dance with their drones. But the Adrian Arch Center about the Kitty Hawk, the aeronautics program, still uses the picture of the CoDrone and the kids around the computer and the CoDrone flying right in front of it. And you could see that. And that's what they use to talk about the drone dance, because it's so much more vibrant with it. And the kids really like it. So once they get into it, they really, really enjoy being able to code the lights. Once you get into it, it's like, so I have a whole cheat sheet of here's the colors for all the colors you have. I just, took it off. Again, you had it on your base camp, and the kids code, and they just code, okay, here's my color here, and here's my color here, and for 2 seconds here, and I want this side, and I want this one. And they just, like I said, sometimes a simple dance has this long code of colors. It'll do this and this color, and they'll do this step in this color, and this. It's just like on, and they just write, and they're just writing these huge, enormous codes. I said, look at, you're writing huge code. Oh, yeah. And they say with the base camp, it's so much easier to code.
Awesome,
they don't feel like they don't feel like, I coded. Yes, I just followed the directions. You're coding, you're doing things. And the base camp says, okay, now you do this, change this, just one thing. And it makes it easier. Oh, I can just do one thing, and it's one step at a time. And the nice thing about the base camp is that, okay, you did this step, you learned this step, now let's put both steps together now. And so that's what I really like about it, that because teachers say, I don't know how to code. I haven't learned to code. Where do I take a coding class? That's the problem is. And your base camp allows this to happen.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think a lot of teachers probably got the idea that, okay, these are really fun for students, and then the base camp of the curriculum that we offer make it easier to run classes. So thanks for sharing all those. And probably like the big question that a lot of the teachers ask is, so how do you get funds for this? I think that's a big question. And then as far as I can tell, you're the master at getting the grants. So wanted to get some the tips and hints how to get those grants coming in.
So one of the things you need to think in your mind first is your, like a needs assessment. Why do I want these in my classroom? Where do they fit? You need to read what's going out there. You know, why do we use drones? Why do we use virtual learning? Where, you know, there's tons of research, and you start building this paper about each of the different things about drones or about whatever you're interested in. And that's one of the questions is, why should we give it to you? You know, if you're a rich school, you're going to have to explain why. You know, there's lots of money for Title I, but like, I'm not a Title I, I'm right above Title I, so I don't get the Title I. So, you know, to them, it's Title I and rich, and it's not that way. So you have to do a lot of looking at your demographics, looking at your school, looking at your supplies, where monies are coming in. And I always have that kind of information. You need to decide where it fits in your classroom. How do you use this? How would you use it? Because they're going to ask you, where does this fit? That's where I created the Engineering Fridays. I have Engineering Fridays, or I have an after school program. They want to know where it fits. You're going to have to tell why it's innovative. So what makes it different from something else? In one of probably the only school that's using coding drones besides the other two Kitty Hawk schools, and I just get them do it. We have a school that's doing drone racing, but there's 330 schools in my district, and there's 3 of us using drones. You know, that's a need. That's, you know, it's not happening. Also look at what you need to have. It's very easy. It's easier to get grants that are $5,000 or less. So build on that assumption. What can I get for $5,000? And a lot of grants want to know is, what are you putting into it? So a lot of times I don't put laptops and computers. I say that's what the school's giving. You know, sometimes I may have to, but I try not to, because they want to know, what are you putting in toward this grant? If I give you money, what are you going to put in? Very few want to start a program, you know, per se. You have to have something with it. And those are things that you can collect all the time. So I have them written in reports. So when I come across a grant, oh, this is what they want. I know my demographics. I know how it's innovative. I know what it is, and I know my plan. What am I going to do with it? And those are things you have to have. They also want to know, how are you going to evaluate it? Pre and post tests don't cut it. They want to see, are you going to have a rubrics? Are you going to have data sheets? Are you going to produce a video? Or, you know, what things are you going to produce, and how are you going to evaluate that the program's worthwhile? So yes, we do a lot of assessing attitudes toward coding before and after. So it's not like a pre and post test. It's a more, how do you feel about coding? What do you like about coding? Do you know how to code before and after? So you have to make sure you have a good assessment, and they have to be based on your objectives. And those you can have, and that's how most grants are. Some have different avenues. You have to know their due dates. There is a, usually right now through February 1st, like is for your summer. If you do it now, you'll hear in May, June for summer, or next year. If you start in May, June, you're going to hear for August, September. They typically want them in a short time span. What is your timeline? You better know what it is. You better have right what it is. So those are the things for it. The Toshiba Foundation grant is $5,000 and less, and they give lots of them. The Honda Foundation is $5,000. They have 2 times for it. This last couple of years, there's been lots of stuff for after school programs. Right now it's virtual learning, but I'm not sure I would use virtual learning because there's so much of it. You have to show how it's virtual learning is innovative, it's different. So I just got a grant that I called it telecommunications. And I spent $4,500 on the new mini CoDrones that you have. And we have a sister school in the Bahamas. So now my kids are virtually learning how to use mini CoDrones. The kids in the Bahamas who have never coded are going to use the mini CoDrones. We are sending them home with the kids. That's why we bought 55 drones. There'll be pairs of 25, one here, one there. And so this was taking virtual learning and making it global in collaboration. So it's an after hours program. The kids collaborate and they're going to create a 1-pair drone dance and then a 2-pair drone. They're supposed to record it on we're using Skype because of the availability in the Bahamas. And if they do a 4 mini CoDrone dance, they get to keep their drone. So the kids are lining up. But we used the $5,000 grant to get drones for kids. But the hook was global collaboration virtually. And the kids are coming and we bagged up their little mini CoDrones. And at least for the Bahamas, they can't use the regular CoDrones. They can't have anything that flies outside. They have a very strict policy. So the Bahamas Ministry of Education, we had to send it to them this summer and show them that the mini CoDrones don't fly outside for them to even approve that they allowed the drones to come into the Bahamas. We had to get that approved. But that was the hook, and it was an American Honda Foundation grant that we did this. So both schools have the computers, both schools have the whole telecommunications route, and all the kids are going to use the base camp. The Ministry of Education in the Bahamas wants us to use Python because they want all their kids to learn how to use Python. So that was the big hook for the Ministry of Education in the Bahamas, is that, oh, you're going to teach the kids coding, Python. And it's like, okay. So we're almost ending up being a pilot program. There's the schools in Exuma. But if it goes out okay, I may be asked and tasked, and they're going to have to find the money to get drones to a lot more schools, because we're just using one school. So
great.
Awesome. It could blossom out of control. But that was my hook. So I took virtual learning and took it to the next stage. And so those are the things that when writing a grant you need to have. What makes it innovative and stuff. And so my kids get to keep a drone and their kids get to keep a drone. And they're so excited.
Awesome. Cool. So I think you're covering like a lot of stuff already, but maybe some of the teachers out there are thinking, okay, like the situation is very different now. So for 2021, if you can share some of the idea, what would be like some of the keywords that teachers should be using to get like additional grants to have this amazing drones or other STEM kits being available? What's going to be your strategy for 2021?
They need to look at what needs in their school. So they may not have drones. So that may be just a simple hook there. Here I'm in a community or in a system that doesn't have drones. 21st century skills is coding. The armed services wants Python, so you're working toward these steps, helping your kids with it. And because of your base camp, it's easily to be virtual. And having them to stay home is a great way that we don't have to worry about passing drones back and forth. If they don't want to do that, then they're going to have it pass back and come back in. There's a whole lot of things. This way, I'm just sending it home and things like that. So that was, because the problem is all robots have electronics. How do I sanitize something electronically? We tried it with true ultraviolet light. I'm finding that people don't understand that if they see ultraviolet light and they can see it, it's not killing. They have to have the shortwave UV, but you can't look at it. We shortwave UV some of the electronics, and it still did not clean them enough. If the kids really handled the electronics, I have to take them apart to have the UV. That's a lot of work. So, at least for that is to be careful about things going home and back. But that's the thing, is how are you going to engage kids at home? One of the things that I want to start with you is I do have my Zoomies. And so I want you, one of the other employees, and I just need to sit down, is how do I set up a computer to control a Zoomi remotely?
Mm-hmm.
So I have the computer and the tablet to do it. So now I need to get with you to do that, because that's the next stage is kids can control robots in my classroom and things like that. I want to try and set up, I think part of the problem is that I keep being quarantined. Where do I set up the robots?
Sure.
But I do want to set it up at least to try it. But I think that's the next stage, is now the computer, the tablet, looking at the, and controlling it remotely from home. So I want to set it up before I go and write more grants on it. It didn't fly over. We tried it, but I think it was $20,000 to get 5 teachers, that whole setup, and it didn't fly. So I have to figure out another way. I think it's too much money, even though I picked up 5. And see, that's the other thing, is teachers could also pick up, who am I going to collaborate with? Zoom works, but like in my school system, my kids can't Zoom with someone outside the school system. So that's why we're using Skype. But I think that's another hook, is are you going to collaborate virtually with someone else? Middle school, high school in your district, middle school in another place. That collaboration could be a great way to move forward with it.
Got it.
It's hard to say. Our hope is that when August comes around and enough vaccines, that physical school will be better. Right now, I'm only running 50% of my kids. So I run what's called dual. I have kids on Zoom and kids in my classroom. And they like it because we get to do the real hands-on things. But my virtual kids, so it's like, how do I create things that virtual kids can do? And so that's the next best thing, is how can you engage virtually? And I think part of the problem is they need to physically have something. They're tired of, I am an observer. I don't know how long kids are going to stand learning by observation.
Definitely. Yeah, we throughout 2020, actually, like, our company has been working on it. So for the Zoomi that you mentioned, our self-driving car, for Zoomi, you can actually connect with one of the computers, and then for communication tools like Zoom, you can actually remote access Zoomi that's connected. So actually, teacher, or wherever a teacher is, if students Zoomi or students has a Zoomi and that's connected to student's computer, then teacher can control it remotely. Or if there's a Zoomi, like multiple Zoomies at school, and then if those are connected to the computers at school, then also students can control those Zoomies from their home as well. So there's some of the ways.
That's my next step I want to try.
Yes.
another time we need to set this up.
For sure. Yeah, we've also recorded some of the webinar for that. So wherever we are sharing this, I'll make sure to include those link on
Okay.
how to control it. So my colleague Wes actually did the webinar on that. So we'll share those so that you can take a look at it. And then I think that'll be definitely something that's very helpful for the other teachers as well.
And a thought for your company is maybe have teaching boxes that a teacher can check out. So instead of buying 5 Zoomies or CoDrones, they could rent it, for a small fee or for mailing, and be able to just use it and then ship it back.
Oh yeah. That sounds awesome.
And that may be another grant idea for a school system, especially some of these smaller school systems that you can help with, is create these teaching trunks.
Yeah,
Because
sure.
I know your CoDrone comes in that hard case with 4.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe loaning it out, maybe say that they have to attend a PD to learn how to use it, and then they get to check it out for 2 weeks. And they just pay postage back and forth. And that may be a grant that is written with RoboLink in mind to be able to create these teaching trunks of the CoDrones, of your little robots, all those things. And that may be the next stage for you and teachers. So they get to do the unit, but they're not investing. So that's something that can be done, and maybe we need to discuss is write something like that. Because for $5,000, that impacts an enormous amount of small school systems, that have very small schools, very little money, that it's easier. I can attend a PD and check out something.
Sure, for sure. Awesome. Yeah, that was an awesome suggestion. Yeah, so I think we can start. Yeah, this I'm sure a lot of teachers will find this really helpful, and probably we can do follow up. Depends on like what other teachers say. We can have like some follow up webinar on other topics too.
Well, one of the things that I'm quite comfortable with and willing, if you have teachers that are not sure of their ideas, sometimes you need a real-time conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So let's offer to some teachers that do contact you let's have a small group or one-on-one. Let me talk to you about your idea and flesh it out so you have something to write for. Because sometimes you're not real sure, but when you have a conversation with someone, oh yeah, I can do that. But without having that conversation with someone, I don't know their school system, their school, that to give them that idea, to make it innovative, to make it different, to make it needs. And so we can, I'm willing to offer teachers to do small group or individual to get them thought processes.
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea. I think we should see how we can do that, and then when other teachers are contacting us, we'll definitely let you know as well. All right, I think hopefully all the teachers who sees this will find this helpful, and then thank you very much for your time today, Suzanne.
No problem, Mike. Like I said, I love your product. And the other thing that just never got said is the support that you and your people, I email you, I call you. Wes is great. Do it this way. When I first started building that CoDrone, he was like, here, look at it this way. And I showed my camera, he showed it. Oh, that's what I was doing. And it was like so wonderful that I was doing something stupid and I just didn't see it, even though we were watching all the videos. And he took the time to walk us through it all. And, so your support of us as teachers is great.
All right. Thank you very
You
much.
don't get that in many companies. You don't get that from many companies.
Awesome. Yeah, we try. Thank you very much. Um, awesome. So with that said, I think we can conclude this video today. And then again, thank you very much for your time, Suzanne.
No problem.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.